At dinner, my brother's kid said, "Dad says you never do anything for this family." Everyone chuckled. I smiled back. Then he won't miss the $3,000 I transfer to his account every month. His face went pale. The table fell silent. I don't love my brother's kid. People think that's harsh, but they don't know her or him. Honestly, she's just like her father, loud, entitled, and somehow always the victim, even when she's the one swinging. Tyler's the kind of kid who breaks things and blames the floor. And Chris, my brother, has spent years teaching her how to be just like him. Never responsible, never grateful, and always someone else's problem. Usually mine. We were at my parents' house for dinner, some forced family tradition my mother clings to, like it's going to glue us all back together. My dad barely talks anymore. My mom hovers like she's auditioning for sainthood. And Chris just shows up, eats for free, and lets his daughter say whatever she wants like it's cute. That night, Tyler pushed her plate away, stared at me, and said, "Dad says you never do anything for this family." Everyone laughed. My mother even nodded like it was a joke they were all in on. I didn't laugh. I just said, "Then he won't miss the $3,000 I transfer to his account every month." Dead silence. Chris turned a shade of white I didn't know existed. My father looked down at his food like it was suddenly fascinating. And my mother, she couldn't even pretend to smile. I stood up and poured myself more wine. Chris didn't say a word the rest of the evening. Tyler kept sneaking glances at me, confused. I guess it's easier for her to believe I'm just bitter than to understand I've been covering their rent, school fees, and grocery bills for 2 years while being called selfish behind my back. That night, I removed Chris from the joint account. I had opened it for emergencies. I guess he thought laziness counted. The next morning, I woke up to 4 missed calls, then a text. "You went too far." I didn't answer. Then a bank notification popped up. Chris had tried to take out money again. Denied. By noon, my mother called. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't ask if I was okay. She wanted to know why I was being dramatic, why I was punishing a child. She said I should be more reserved, like a real woman. Her words, not mine. I hung up in the middle of her sentence. That week, I canceled everything. The school program, the electric bill, the automatic transfer for their groceries. I didn't say a word. I let them figure it out. I booked a trip to Arizona. 3 days of sun and no one asking for anything. It was the first time in years I didn't check my phone every hour. When I came back, there were 3 voicemails, 2 from Chris and 1 from my mother. My dad didn't call. He never does anymore. But the next time I saw them, I realized something had shifted, and not in a small way. I wasn't planning to see any of them again so soon. But a week after I got back from Arizona, my cousin Lindsay got engaged. It turned into one of those backyard celebrations with string lights and Costco champagne. My mother called 3 times in one morning, pushing me to go. Said it was important to show face. Said people were already talking. I didn't ask who. I showed up late, parked down the street, stayed just long enough to make it seem like I cared, and stood near the back with a plastic cup of warm wine. I kept my sunglasses on and nodded through conversations with people who only remembered I existed when I was writing checks. I made it almost to my car before Chris showed up behind me. He looked like someone had wrung him out. Hollow eyes, unshaven, hoodie half-zipped, like he just rolled out of a bad nap. I thought maybe this would be the moment, the apology, something real. Instead, he said, "This isn't like you." I didn't bother pretending I didn't know what he meant. He said Tyler had been crying, asking why Aunt Jennifer didn't like her anymore, that she was just a kid, that I should have corrected her, not humiliated him. Then came the part I knew was coming. He asked if I really thought cutting them off would make me feel better. I asked if he really thought using his daughter as a human shield would make him look less pathetic. He didn't respond. I reminded him I paid off the rest of his mortgage when he couldn't cover 3 months in a row. I mentioned the $400 for Tyler's summer camp, the groceries every week, the insurance I added him to after his license got flagged. He just stood there blinking like I was rattling off fictional crimes. Then he said something I haven't been able to forget since. "You act like you're better than us just because you have a job and nobody left you." That line hit me harder than I expected, because it was exactly the kind of thing our dad used to say when I started building a life that didn't revolve around chaos. When I moved out, when I got promoted, when I stopped coming to every birthday like it was a court-ordered visitation. Somehow, success became an insult. I left without another word. At home, I opened the spreadsheet I'd kept hidden in a locked folder on my laptop. Every deposit, every bill I'd paid, every transfer, every little favor. I'd started it as a way to keep track, to stay organized. I stared at the total, $68,420. That didn't even include the small stuff, the babysitting favors, the emergency rides, the gift cards to help them get through the month. I forwarded the file to my lawyer. I didn't want the money back. I just wanted it documented. I asked her how to remove Chris from everything: emergency contacts, shared health documents, any trace of legal tie. I started with my will, then the insurance, then the one thing I'd been putting off: Tyler's private school, where I was still listed as a backup payee. 3 days later, the school called. They said someone had missed a tuition payment. Said they reached out to Chris, but he hadn't responded. He gave them my number again. I told them clearly I wouldn't be paying anything for that family anymore. That night, I changed my number. New SIM, new plan, quiet. My mother found out within hours. I got the email at 2 a.m., a long, emotional ramble about how I was being vindictive, how I was humiliating them, how Tyler was innocent in all of this. Not once did she ask if I was okay. Not once did she mention Chris's lies or the years of financial drain I'd carried without a word. She said I needed to learn my role. That's what she wrote. My role. I stared at that line for a long time because for once, I actually agreed with her. I had learned my role and I was finally ready to walk away from it. 2 weeks passed. No calls, no emails, not even one of those weird, vague Facebook statuses my mom posts when she wants the world to know she's offended, but not say why. Just silence. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten the message. Then the letter came, mailed handwritten from my dad, which was strange. He's not a letter guy. He barely texts. Inside was one page, not even a full page, just a few heavy sentences. He said I was letting money change me, that whatever was going on between me and Chris, I needed to put it to rest for the sake of the family. He said Tyler deserves stability, that being part of a family means swallowing your pride, even when you're right. That last line made me sit down. I hadn't realized how angry I still was until I read it 3 times in a row. Not one person in that house had ever swallowed their pride. Not when I was the one who got screamed at for getting into college out of state. Not when I worked 2 jobs to pay off Mom's credit card debt without telling anyone. Not when Dad didn't talk to me for a month after I missed Chris's birthday party because I was hospitalized for exhaustion. I'd spent a lifetime being the stable one, the fixer, the one who always showed up and kept her mouth shut. And now, because I stopped funding the family circus, I was the villain. I didn't respond to the letter. I didn't even shred it. I left it folded on my coffee table like a note from a stranger. The next fallout came fast. First, Chris lost the car. I only found out because a friend from high school who works at the dealership where I co-signed his lease messaged me asking if I knew the payments had stopped. Then, Tyler's school removed her from the robotics club. That was the first time I saw anything from my niece since the dinner. She posted a story on Instagram, just a photo of her crying with some vague caption about fake people. Chris still hadn't found steady work. He'd been doing delivery apps and selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. One of my old coworkers said they saw him trying to pawn a PS5 at a place in town. It wasn't even his. I recognized the serial number. I'd bought it during the pandemic for Tyler, just to keep her occupied. I could have called the police. I didn't. Then came my mother's birthday. Usually I'd send flowers, a gift card, something. This time I didn't even text. The following weekend, she showed up at my place. I opened the door, saw her standing there holding a grocery bag with a lemon pie like we were still pretending, and I didn't say anything. She walked past me, put the pie on my counter, and turned around. She said we needed to talk, that I was acting out of character, that the Jennifer she raised would never punish a child, that whatever resentment I had, I should rise above it. I asked if she even knew how much I'd given Chris in the last 5 years. She said it wasn't about money. I asked if she'd ever once told him to stop relying on me. She said he was going through a hard time. I asked when my hard time was going to count. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she said the one thing that finally sealed it. You don't abandon blood, no matter how they treat you. And that's when I realized she never saw me as a person, just as a utility. She left without taking the pie. I threw it in the trash, then sat down and did something I should have done years ago. I opened my medicine cabinet and flushed the anxiety pills I'd been taking since Chris moved in for a couple months back in 2019. I haven't needed them since. I thought things had finally gone quiet. No calls, no drama, no late-night emails. I was actually sleeping again. Not just passing out from exhaustion, but real sleep. 8 hours, sometimes more. I started cooking for myself, not just reheating leftovers and standing at the sink. It was strange at first having that much silence. It's silly, but I didn't realize how much noise I'd been living under until it disappeared. Then I got the wedding invitation. It wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to Jennifer and guest, which was already strange since everyone knows I'm single. The return address was from a hotel in Virginia. I opened it. It was from Chris. He was getting married in 3 weeks to a woman I'd never even heard of. Apparently they met 6 months earlier. Her name was Bethany. She worked in interior wellness, whatever that means. And the wedding was going to be a small, intentional gathering. The card said, "No gifts, just good vibes." I actually laughed out loud at that. Baker. He wrote a note on the back of the invite. "Hope you can make it. Tyler's really excited to have a mom again." That was the first time I'd heard about the engagement or the girlfriend or anything resembling a relationship. Something didn't feel right. So I did what I wasn't supposed to do. I looked Bethany up. It took 3 minutes to find her public Instagram. I scrolled through wellness quotes, fruit bowls, yoga poses in Bali. Then I hit a picture from 6 months ago. Chris was in it behind her, wearing a shirt I bought him 2 years ago. The caption said, "We've already been through hell together. Can't wait to start our real life." The timestamp hit me immediately. 6 months ago. That would have been around the time he asked for $500 to cover Tyler's therapy. I kept scrolling. Found another post, 2 months ago, a picture of Bethany holding up a sonogram. My stomach dropped. They were having a baby. He hadn't told anyone, not even my mother, who, when I called her, sounded more confused than I was. Then she said, "Well, at least he's trying. Starting over isn't easy." I told her not to expect me at the wedding. She said that was disappointing. What she didn't know was that I was going to be there, just not as a guest. I called a friend from college, Morgan, who now worked at the venue listed on the invite. She pulled up the contract. I didn't even need to ask. She offered to email me a copy. Guess who was footing the bill? My father. That same man who once told me women don't need wills because husbands should handle things. The one who said I was throwing money away on therapy and should just go to church. They were paying for Chris's wedding. The dress, the venue, the open bar, the whole thing. After everything, they were still choosing him. So I decided if they wanted a show, I'd give them one. 3 days before the wedding, I mailed a small package to the hotel. Not to Chris, not to Bethany, to the wedding planner listed in the event profile. Inside was a printout of every receipt, every payment, every transfer, with dates and account numbers redacted, but the amounts bolded and highlighted. I didn't include my name, but I added a note. If she's building her future with him, she deserves to know who built the past. The wedding still happened. I saw the pictures later. Bethany looked happy. Tyler looked confused. Chris looked a little thinner. But a week later, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Bethany, and she had questions. I didn't listen to the voicemail right away. I left it sitting there on my phone for 2 days, just the little red dot staring back at me. I kept thinking, what would I even say? Congratulations on marrying a fraud? Sorry you're pregnant with a man-sized parasite? But on the third night, after a glass of wine and a bad movie, I finally hit play. Bethany's voice was calm, too calm. She said she got my package, that she hadn't believed it at first. She actually thought it was a prank until she started going through Chris's old papers and his old phone and found the matching numbers. She thanked me, which was bizarre. Then she asked if I'd be willing to talk. I didn't call her back, but I did text her. I don't want to get involved, but I'll answer questions if you have them. She sent a paragraph. Apparently Chris had told her I was a distant sister, a career-obsessed loner who used money to control people. He said I used to criticize his parenting, didn't like Tyler, and stopped talking to the family because I was too sensitive. She said he never mentioned me helping with bills, never brought up the school payments, the car, the groceries. Then she told me this. She found out he'd used her credit card to pay for his last 3 months of rent. She thought it was a one-time thing. He said it was temporary. But then she saw the pattern, not just with her, with every woman he'd dated in the last 5 years, some of whom she had contacted, all of whom said the same thing. Chris was charming, broke, and always had an excuse. And now she was 6 months pregnant. She didn't ask for help, didn't cry, didn't beg. She just wanted the truth. So I gave it to her a hager. I sent her the spreadsheet, the bank confirmations, the screenshots of the tuition payments, the messages from Chris asking for emergency help. I told her about the fake therapy story, the wedding invite, the part where he told our family I was cold and unstable while quietly taking $3,000 from me every month. Her only reply was, "Thank you, this changes everything." I didn't hear from her after that. 3 weeks later, I got a call from my mother. I let it ring out, then another, then a third. I finally picked up on the fourth one just to end the noise. She didn't even say hello, just launched straight into it. Chris was going through something. Apparently Bethany had moved out, took Tyler with her. She'd left a note, packed her things while he was at work, and told him not to contact her unless it was about the baby. My mother was frantic, saying he was spiraling, that it was my fault for feeding lies to a pregnant woman. I told her I hadn't lied about a single thing. Then she said it, the line that ended everything for good. "You've destroyed your brother's life over a few dollars. You're not family anymore." And just like that, she hung up. I stared at my phone for a long time, waiting to feel something. Grief, anger, regret. But nothing came. Just peace. No more texts, no more calls, no more requests, no more fake dinners. Where I sat through insults served between courses, I had been cut off. And for the first time in my life, that felt like freedom. That was the last conversation I ever had with my mother. She didn't call again. My father never reached out. Chris vanished off social media, probably out of embarrassment, or maybe he just ran out of people to perform for. Tyler unfollowed me the same week, which honestly felt like a relief. She never liked me. I don't blame her. She didn't know better. No one raised her to. There were no fireworks, no dramatic confrontations after that, just a slow, steady silence. And then I started getting pieces of my life back. First, my weekends. I started sleeping in without waking up in a panic about bills I wasn't supposed to be paying. I read books, actual books, without checking my phone every 10 minutes. I started going on walks in the middle of the day, just because I could. I wasn't waiting for another crisis. I wasn't budgeting for people who never said thank you. Then my money. For the first time in years, my account stopped bleeding. I opened a new savings account. I set up auto transfers not to other people, but to myself. I checked the balance every Friday, and every Friday it grew. No mysterious withdrawals. No late-night Venmo requests labeled emergency. I stopped keeping anxiety pills in my kitchen drawer. I also stopped feeling guilty about saying no. Bethany emailed me once more, just one line. It took me too long to see it. "Thank you for showing me." She never asked for anything. I never offered. That was the deal, unspoken and clean. A few months passed. I saw that Chris had taken a job in another state, construction work. Someone told me he was couch surfing, but I didn't care enough to confirm it. Whatever happened next wasn't my story to follow anymore. I got a dog. I named her June. She's needy in a good way. I started going to therapy again, for myself this time. Not to process their chaos, but to figure out why I stayed in it so long. It's strange. You think you're helping people because you love them, but sometimes you're just afraid of what they'll say if you stop. But I stopped, and the world didn't fall apart. I did lose a family, I guess. At least the version of it I was born into. But I gained something better. Peace, silence, and finally, after all this time, my own damn life.